Discover the heartwarming journey of an amazing male concubine, life-changing secrets of ancient. In a forgotten corner of history, where shadows whisper and echoes of longing twist through time, there lived a man named Lee. He was not merely a servant. He was a concubine, an extraordinary role cloaked in scandal and mystery. Can you imagine what it was like for a male in a world ruled by women? Lush gardens surrounded the palace, humming with the scent of jasmine, where his fate twisted painfully among beautiful souls and heavy secrets. What did it mean to love in silence, to ache for connection across a chasm of social disdain? Lee was handsome, his skin glowed like sun-kissed bronze. But beneath that surface lay a heart bursting with fear and longing. All around him, voices echoed whispers of jealousy, glances loaded with judgment. The other servants eyed him with a mix of admiration and contempt, while the wives, adorned in silks and jewels, traded vicious rumors of his rise. They couldn't fathom the truth. He was not merely a lover but a key, a man holding the power of knowledge deeper than any book. Lee knew the whispers of the garden. He understood the language of longing that danced in the as he navigated his complicated life. Each step felt like an act of defiance. The strange, unearthly stories his mother told him responded to his yearnings, legends of passion so fierce they could ignite the night sky. He learned to read the hidden desires painted in passion's colors, a magic only a moment's connection could grasp. Each night, he would peer through the sheer curtains, watching as the moonlight softened the chaos of the world below. It both terrified and exhilarated him. But one evening, as Lee was tending the vibrant blossoms of the moonflower, an unexpected event rocked his stable existence. The sound of crashing pottery echoed through the courtyard, piercing the early evening calm like a lightning bolt. Silence fell momentarily, and then the buzz of doubt began. What happened? Was it an accident? Or was it something more sinister? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the night fell deeper, a hush blanketed the palace. Lee stepped cautiously toward the source of the chaos, his heart racing like a wild drum. Was this the moment destiny had written for him? A chance to break free, to discover what lay beneath the surface of his life. As he rounded the corner, he saw shadows moving, familiar faces twisted in horror. The atmosphere crackled with tension. Fear seeped from every crack in the stone walls. Had a truth come to light that could shatter the very foundation of everything he knew? Questions raced through his mind. Could he stand at the edge of something monumental? Or would he fall into a pit of despair that would drown him? The air felt heavy with secrets yet to be revealed, and Lee's soul stirred with curiosity and dread. What awaited him as he prepared to confront the storm brewing behind the palace walls? Lee took a deep breath, his lungs filling with the sweet scent of damp earth and blooming petals. The moon was a silent witness, casting its silver glow over everything as he edged forward, drawn by a mix of dread and intrigue. Shadows danced in the corners, flickering and shifting as if they had a life of their own. His senses heightened. He could hear the whispers, raw with concern. What will happen now? One voice trembled. It was familiar, belonging to May, the noblewoman whose heart Lee once caught in an innocent gaze. Had she been involved in whatever turmoil had erupted? Eyes wide, he positioned himself just outside the small gathering. There, centered among the rubble of broken pottery, he saw her. May's hands quivered as she tried to catch her breath, her silks shimmering but torn. Surrounding her, a mixture of the palace's wives and servants, each face a mixture of shock and rage. What fool broke my precious vase? Barked Lady Bai, her voice a whip crack in the all-consuming silence. Lee's heart sank. The vase had been a gift from the emperor, an irreplaceable relic. If the rumors of its destruction spread, even Lee's status could not shield him from the ensuing chaos. It was an accident, May pleaded, her eyes darting around for support from the onlookers. I tripped, and it shattered. I never meant for this to happen. Lee's pulse quickened. The gathering was powerful women who could shatter lives with a single word. They thrived on scandal like flies swarming over rotting fruit. He needed to act. If he revealed himself now, perhaps he could lend a friendly hand and spare May further humiliation. With each step forward, dread clawed at his insides. He hugged the edges of the shadows, glimpsing the expressions of those surrounding her. Anger simmered, but beneath it, there lay a darker undercurrent: jealousy. Lee understood all too well how cruel fate could twist the bonds of kinship. Then, with a flicker of courage, he emerged. "I saw what happened," he called, his voice steady yet soft, commanding attention amongst the tumult. "It was truly an accident. May was the victim here, not the perpetrator." Gasps rang out. A mix of disbelief and intrigue danced in the air. Lady Bai's sharp chin lifted, her hawkish gaze narrowing on Lee. "And who are you to speak for the noblewomen? You are nothing, a mere concubine. Your opinion means little here." Lee felt the sting of her words, but he pushed the discomfort aside. "But I know her heart." He glanced at May, whose eyes were now wide, shimmering with unshed tears. "She is not to blame. The vase can be replaced, a reputation cannot." The crowd shifted, the bonds of curiosity swirling around them. The intensity of their expressions shifted ever so slightly, as if a thread of truth had begun to unravel the tension hanging in the air. Yet, just then, an elderly matron stepped forward from the edge of the crowd, her voice creaking but filled with authority. "Perhaps it is not the vase we should worry about, but the secrets hidden beneath these walls." Something stirred the chaos, and there are whispers that not everything is as it should be. Lee's heart stopped. The web of secrets entangled around the palace tightened, and suddenly, he felt trapped in a looming shadow. What secrets could be buried deeper than broken pottery? What were the stakes higher than May's predicament? Beneath the flickering lanterns, as the shadows danced in time with his rising dread, he became acutely aware that the night was far from over, and he was on the brink of something monumental. What did this matron know? What revelation awaited him as deep-rooted secrets began to surface, threatening to unravel not only his world, but also the very foundation of the palace itself? Lee's breath hitched. He could feel the weight of the crowd's gaze upon him, shifting and spiraling like an approaching storm. Lady Bai's icy demeanor suggested she was not one to tread lightly. The murmurs grew louder, turning into whispers of intrigue, suspicion swirling in the air like autumn leaves caught in a gust. "What do you mean, matron?" someone asked, breaking the tension. The voice belonged to Lady Chun, another noblewoman whose presence decorated the palace with her charm. What secrets could possibly be more scandalous than the destruction of a gift from the emperor? The matron, her gnarled hands trembling slightly, raised her chin defiantly. "This is not the first time things have gone missing or broken within these walls. You speak of a vase, but I've heard tales of darker happenings beneath the surface." Intrigue rippled through the group, the atmosphere thickening with anticipation. Lee could see it in their eyes, that hunger for drama, for the unveiling of secrets that could burn the palace to the ground. "Speak, then," Lady Bai commanded, her voice dripping with impatience. "Or do you merely toy with us?" "I had a vision," the matron replied, her voice shaky, yet reverberating with authority. "A vision that something looms over our palace. A ghost of betrayal haunts this place. It seeks to shatter more than just objects. Hearts will break, and loyalty will be tested." "What nonsense!" Lady Bai shot back. "You are an old fool chasing shadows. My vase is the only matter of concern here." But the matron wouldn't yield. Her eyes were piercing, unyielding. "Do you laugh at the storm before it strikes? Your precious vase is but a sign of greater upheaval. When fragile things break, they must be taken as a warning." The crowd was spellbound. Lee could feel the fear creeping in, like cold fingers curling around his spine. If these whispers gained strength, they could unleash chaos unlike any they had ever seen. "May," he said softly, stepping closer to her, allowing her a glimpse of hope. "What do you know?" May shook her head, panic flooding her features. "I have heard things late at night near the gardens. Voices murmuring about betrayal and deceit. But it was just rumors, right?" Lee sensed her desperation. "Rumors could be the spark for catastrophe. We need to find out the truth before it consumes us, before it consumes you," he urged. Just as he finished, One of the servants burst through the crowd, eyes wide with panic. A servant from the north wing has gone missing. Gasps erupted, and the atmosphere shifted again, thickening with dread. The name of the missing servant echoed in Li's mind: Zhang, a loyal attendant. What had happened to him? Perhaps the palace is not just haunted by ghosts, but by danger, the matron whispered, her voice barely audible above the swelling murmurs. Li's heart pounded. A knot of trepidation formed in his gut. Could Zhang's disappearance be connected to what the matron claimed? Was something sinister stalking them all hidden within elegant walls, with secrets hanging in the air and threats closing in from the edges? Li's thoughts raced. Could he protect Mei? Would he unravel the darkness before it swallowed not only her, but the entire court? He needed answers. The shadows prodded at him, beckoning him into deeper danger. What lay beneath the surface of the palace? And would uncovering these secrets lead him to the truth or bury him deeper in a world of treachery? The atmosphere pulsed with urgent whispers. Anxiety draped over the crowd like a heavy cloak, tightening around Li as he wrestled with his mounting fears. Zhang had been a fixture in their lives, a loyal companion bustling through the palace halls bearing messages and tending to needs. His absence loomed larger than life, and Li felt the stirrings of panic inside him. Shall we not search for Zhang? Mei's voice trembled as she clutched Li's arm, her eyes wide with worry. What if something terrible has happened? Lady Bai sneered, dismissing the thought. He is just a servant. Let us not divert our attention to a mere distraction. We have more pressing matters. The crowd's agreement was palpable. The whispers of betrayal had ignited a primal hunger for gossip over concern for a missing man. But the matron stepped forward, her eyes ablaze with urgency. Your misplaced priorities will bring doom upon us. The ghosts will not cease until the root of their rage is uncovered. We must look beyond this loss and into the corridors of power. Betrayal simmers, waiting for its moment to strike. Li's heart drummed in his ears as he weighed her words. What if Zhang's disappearance was the entry point into something far more dangerous? Shadows of doubt clouded his mind, thickening the air around him. Let us investigate the north wing, Li finally asserted, his voice strained but resolute. If Zhang ventured there last, we owe it to him to uncover the truth. A few members of the crowd nodded, excitement intertwining with fear, but others remained skeptical. Lady Chen scoffed, and what will you find? A way to further embarrass us? Ignoring her, Li took a step towards the palace entrance, Mei at his side, a fragile support in the gathering storm. With every step closer to the north wing, he could feel the tension building, his gut churning with a mix of determination and dread. Inside the familiar, yet unnerving corridors, the air grew heavy with foreboding. They passed ornate pillars decorated with intricate carvings, secrets hidden in their shadows. Li focused on the faint sounds that ricocheted through the darkened hallways, searching for any sign of Zhang. Look, Mei pointed at an open door, its ajar frame beckoning them inside. It led to what looked like a storage room, dusty and forgotten. We have to check it out. Li glanced back, ensuring no one was following. Stay close, he whispered as they stepped in. Crammed shelves lined the walls, but what caught his eye was a heavy wooden chest, its latch slightly undone. A shiver went down his spine. Did Zhang find something he wasn't meant to see? As Li reached for the chest, a sudden sound made him freeze, a rustle behind him. He wheeled around, heart racing. The shadows shifted ominously, as if they carried secrets of their own. Did you hear that? Mei whispered, eyes wide with fear. Yeah, Li replied, voice low. The faint clinking of metal echoed from the depths of the exotic room, the past creeping up on them. We're not alone. Suddenly, the door slammed shut, engulfing them in darkness. Panic gripped his chest as he felt for Mei's hand, his pulse racing. The choking silence enveloped them, and all that could be heard was their shallow, quickened breaths. Li, what should we do? Mei's voice trembled, an edge of desperation threading through her words. Stay quiet. Listen, he urged, feeling the cold tendrils of fear creeping in once again. As a shadow fell across the floor, Li's breath caught in his throat. Who or what had descended upon them in this isolated moment? In that instant, he realized, this was no ordinary mystery. They were standing on the precipice of a danger cloaked in whispers and secrets, and their search had just begun. Whatever truth lay hidden in the palace's depths, It was alive and ready to ensnare them. Could they uncover the darkness before it consumed them whole, or had they stumbled into a trap from which there was no escape? The darkness felt alive, thick and pulsing around them. Lee's heart raced as he strained to see beyond the void. Every shadow seemed to flicker and twist, playing tricks on his mind. The faint sound of a grating breath broke the silence, freezing him in place. "May, are you okay?" he whispered, squeezing her hand tighter. "I think so," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. "What was that?" "I don't know," he breathed, trying to steady himself. "But we need to stay alert." Lee's gaze darted around the cramped room. Dust motes swirled in the slivers of moonlight that crept through the cracks. He was still inches away from the chest, a promise of answers or calamity teetering just within reach. The oppressive silence was broken again, this time by a sharp clang. If only they could open the door and escape. But as he tried the handle, it didn't budge. "It's locked," he said, frustration tinging his voice. "We're trapped." "Lee," May gasped, pointing toward the corner of the small room. A figure hovered there, cloaked in shadow. A chill ran down his spine, as if ice flowed through his veins. "Who is there?" he demanded. Though his voice quivered with fear, the figure stepped into the dim light, revealing a young man with wild eyes and disheveled hair. "You shouldn't have come here," he said, his voice a raspy whisper. "They're watching." Lee instinctively moved protectively in front of May. Who is watching?" "The spirits," the man choked out, laughter mixing with a cough. "Their hunger drives them. You're in danger. We're looking for Jean." Lee pressed, desperation clawing at him. "Do you know where he is?" The man tilted his head, an unsettling grin spreading across his face. "Jean. He is just the beginning. The truth is darker than you can imagine." Lee felt a knot tighten in his gut. "What do you mean? What happened to him?" "Those in power don't want you to know. They hide secrets in plain sight, and betrayals linger like ghosts, waiting to strike." Lee's heart dropped. Every inch of him screamed to run, to get as far from this place as possible. But he couldn't abandon Jean. Couldn't let fear dictate their fate. "We can handle the truth," he declared, trying to inject strength into his voice. "Just tell us what you know." The man's laughter echoed hollowly, a sound devoid of joy. "You think you want the truth? The moment you seek it, you become part of the story. And not everyone gets a happy ending." Just then, the chest behind Lee creaked open on its own, revealing tattered scrolls and curious trinkets that glimmered with an eerie light. May gasped at the sight, stepping closer despite her fear. "What's in there?" Before Lee could answer, a low rumble reverberated through the floor, causing dust to rain down upon them. The room felt suffocating, the air thick with a fear that wrapped around them like a shroud. "Run!" Lee shouted. "We need to get out." As they bolted toward the door, an unseen force slammed against it, making the walls tremble. Gritting his teeth, Lee lunged forward, determined to break free of the ominous grip of the palace before it swallowed them whole. But as they struggled against the door, the wild-eyed man grinned, his voice ringing in the air. "You can't escape the truth. It will always find you." With a final push, Lee gave way, and the door burst open, spilling them into the dimly lit corridor. But in the chaos, as they fled, Lee couldn't shake the chilling certainty that they merely scratched the surface of a much darker reality. What waited for them outside? Answers? Or deeper entanglements in a web of betrayal and sorrow? The corridor yawned before them, an endless expanse of faded wallpaper and flickering candlelight. Lee and May stumbled out of the small room, gasping for air as if the darkness had clutched at their throats. Behind them, the wild-eyed man's laughter echoed, a haunting reminder that they weren't alone, even in this dimly lit escape. "Keep moving," Lee urged, gripping May's hand with a fierce urgency. They surged forward, adrenaline propelling them faster than logic could dictate. The corridor twisted and turned, branches diverging like the paths of fate, each leading deeper into the shrouded palace. Shadows danced along the walls, each one stirring a primal fear in Lee's gut. "Where do we go?" May gasped, her voice trembling. Just follow me," he panted, his heart drumming in his chest. As they ran, the eerie lull of the palace's silence pressed onto them like a weight. Lee's mind raced. Where was Jean? Had he faced the same fate as the wild-eyed man? Each thought felt like a lead weight as he pushed forward, desperate to find answers, and to keep May safe. Suddenly, a door swung open ahead, the wooden frame yawning like a maw waiting to swallow them whole. The air shifted. It smelled of mildew and something else, something sweet yet pungent that made Lee's stomach churn. What if it's a trap? May whispered, her voice sharp with apprehension. We have to know. Zhang might be in there. Lee replied, scanning the darkness beyond the door. Cautiously, they stepped inside. The room was monumental, filled with towering shelves of ancient books piled haphazardly around a massive stone table. Odd trinkets and ceremonial masks hung from the walls, their eyes seeming to follow their every move. A chill crept up Lee's spine as shadows shifted in the corners, mimicking their fears. Look, May pointed to a tattered scroll unfurling across the table, its surface gleaming faintly in the candlelight. What is that? Lee approached slowly, feeling a strange pull towards it. As he drew closer, he noted the characters' symbols of a language he struggled to understand. But the images were unmistakable. They depicted an elaborate ritual, one that seemed to wind its way across the ages. And at the center of it all a face, Zhang's face. His heart raced as he leaned closer. Lee, what does it say? May's voice quivered from behind him, laced with a mix of fear and hope. I think this is about him, he stammered, running a trembling hand over the ancient script. No, wait, she interrupted, backing away. What if it's a trap? What if before she could finish, a deafening clap echoed through the room, rattling the shelves around them. A deep, resonant voice filled the air, vibrating in their bones. You seek the truth. Lee's skin prickled as shadows coalesced into a form, materializing near the table. The figure loomed, indistinct yet unmistakably powerful, with eyes like burning coals piercing through the dimness. You must decide, the voice rumbled. Will you seek knowledge at the cost of your souls? Time froze. Lee's breath caught in his throat. The weight of the choice loomed over him like a storm on the horizon, dark and turbulent. Could he face the truth about Zhang and himself without losing everything? May's grip on his arm tightened, her eyes wide with unspoken fears. Lee, we can't, she whispered, a tremor in her voice. But the shadows danced closer, their whispers enticing him toward the abyss. Will you dare to enter? The voice beckoned. Before he could respond, the scroll flared to life, illuminating the room in an eerie glow. Images danced before them, visions of sacrifice, betrayal, and dark revelations. Just as comprehension began to dawn, the vision twisted violently, plunging them into chaos. Lee, what is happening? May panicked as the room spun around them, forcing them to confront the true nature of their quest. His thoughts raced. Would the answers ignite their salvation or consume them whole? With the walls closing in, one question loomed larger than the rest. When the truth emerged, would they even be prepared for it? The room swirled as the vision enveloped them. Lee felt as if he were drowning, gasping for clarity in the tidal wave of images. Shadows rippled on the walls, morphing into grotesque shapes that seemed to mock their fears. May's voice broke through the noise, frantic and pleading, but he could barely hear her over the cacophony consuming him. Then, silence. The swirling images faded, leaving them in an oppressive stillness. The ambient glow of the scroll cast eerie shadows across the room. Lee blinked, his senses struggling to adjust. He turned to May, panic etched on her face. Are you okay? He asked, his voice hoarse. I think so, she stammered, but her eyes darted around the room, fear flickering within them. What was that? Staring at the now blank scroll, Lee felt a cold dread creep into his gut. I don't know, but I think it's trying to show us something. We need to figure this out. As if awakened by his declaration, the shadows moved again, coiling in ways that beckoned them toward the far wall, where an ornate door sat ajar. The hinges creaked ominously, the wood warped and discolored like it had seen too much sorrow. Lee, May whispered, inching back. Do we really want to go in there? Zhang might be in danger. We can't turn back now, he replied, the weight of his promise to protect her igniting his resolve. Together, they approached the door, and as they crossed the threshold, a frigid wind rushed at them. Inside was a narrow hallway lit only by a series of flickering torches. The dim orange glow barely illuminated the stone walls that felt like they were closing in. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and a low hum vibrated through the floor. What is that noise? May asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't know, but it feels alive, Lee replied, his heartbeat quickening with each step. Suddenly, the sound morphed into a low chant, echoing off the walls and reverberating within him. It was both haunting and oddly compelling, pulling them forward with an unseen force. They squeezed past the jagged stones and felt a deep, unsettling pulse in their chests, as if the very palace thrummed with anticipation. Is this where the truth lies? May said, voice trembling, but curiosity tinged her fear. Perhaps, Lee answered, barely able to suppress his own unease. They emerged into a vast chamber filled with towering statues, each one twisted into expressions of anguish and rage. At the center of the room stood a massive pedestal, an object shrouded in dark cloth, standing ominously still, as if anticipating their arrival. Maybe that's what the scroll was revealing, Lee suggested, motioning toward the pedestal. Whatever lies beneath that cloth, it could be the key to saving Jean. As he stepped closer, the chanting grew louder, and the shadows in the room seemed to swirl around them, closing in like a vice. May grabbed his arm tightly, her nails digging into his skin. What do we do? She hissed, eyes wide with panic. I hesitated, the air heavy with dread. We have to reveal it, he whispered. He reached out for the dark cloth, but as his fingers brushed the fabric, the shadows erupted around them. Whispers coalesced into shouts, and the room shook violently. Stop! You cannot handle what lies beneath. A voice thundered, echoing off the chamber walls. Fear spiked through Lee and May as they stumbled back, the shadows slithering closer. The intensity of the moment sent chills down their spines. Would they uncover the dark truths of their quest or unleash something far beyond their understanding? That question loomed larger as Lee gripped the cloth tighter, a decision racing toward the epicenter of fate. What awaited beneath the answers, or a nightmare? With trembling hands, he began to pull away the shroud. The room erupted with chaos. As Lee tugged at the dark cloth, the shadows surged forward like ravenous wolves, their whispers sharp and chilling. He felt their cold breath as they wrapped around him and May, suffocating everything else. Lee! May screamed, panic slicing through her voice. She pulled at his arm, but he couldn't let go. What if the answers were just beneath his fingers? He yanked the cloth free. A blinding light exploded from the pedestal, casting aside the shadows and illuminating every corner of the chamber in a brilliant glow. Lee shielded his eyes, but when he dared to look again, his breath caught in his throat. There, atop the pedestal, lay a stone tablet etched with swirling symbols, a language he could barely grasp, but its power echoed deep within him. Energy surged from it, buoying his spirit while chilling his bones. This was what they had come for. He could feel it. Look! May shouted, her voice filled with awe. He turned to her, and his heart sank. The shadows had withdrawn momentarily, forming a swirling vortex behind them, growing larger and darker. A thick fog began to envelop the room, blotting out the light. With each pulse of the tablet's glow, the shadows retaliated, creeping closer, clawing at their resolve. May, we have to read it, Lee said, pushing aside his fear. We need to understand what it means. But what if it's a trap? She asked, her voice trembling. What if it's meant to destroy us? Then we'll face it together, Lee replied, conviction grabbing hold. He stepped toward the tablet, pulling May with him despite her hesitation. As they neared, the air shimmered with energy, crackling like static. The symbols glowed, pulsating in rhythm with their heartbeats. He reached out, placing his fingers on the surface. The symbols felt warm under his touch, alive. Visions rushed into his mind, flashes of moments long past, battles fought, sacrifices made. With each heart-wrenching image, his understanding deepened. The shadows pulsed angrily, as if trying to drown out his awakening. What do you see? May asked, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and curiosity. The tablet, it tells of a guardian, he breathed, processing the weight of the revelation as it settled in. A protector bound to the fate of our friend. No, May whispered, horror seeping into her voice. It can't be Jean. Lee met her gaze, determination igniting their shared fear. Then we must stop whatever this is from consuming him. As the light from the tablet escalated, the shadows surged again, howling in fury. The walls of the chamber trembled, shaking dust and debris from above, threatening to bury them alive. What if it's too late? May's voice quivered as she clutched his arm. It can't be. We won't let it be, he replied, pulling her close. But we need to act now. With every ounce of strength, he focused on the symbols, willing the hidden knowledge to emerge and guide them. A sudden image flashed, a dark figure draped in shadows, wielding immense power, connected to Zhang's fate. He's in the heart of darkness. We have to confront it, Li exclaimed, suddenly seeing the path laid before them. Then let us do it, Mei said, defiantly squaring her shoulders. Just as they prepared to leap into the unknown, the shadows lunged, engulfing them in blackness, the last remnants of light vanishing as Li felt himself pulled into a void. What have we done? May's voice echoed, filled with terror, as they plunged deeper into the darkness. The abyss surrounded them. Li clutched the stone tablet and anchor in the storm. What had they awakened? What lay ahead in the depths of this darkness? The answers loomed before them, sinister and inevitable, as reality itself thinned beneath their feet. Would they survive the trial, or would they succumb to the darkness threatening to consume their souls? The darkness tightened around them, a suffocating weight pressing on their chests. Li's heart raced, a thunderous drum echoing in the silence that wrapped around them. Each breath felt like a struggle as shadows dripped down from the ceiling, slithering toward him like vines eager to choke the life out of his desperation. Li, I can't see. May's voice trembled, cutting through the oppressive blackness that swallowed their surroundings. Hold on, he shouted back, gritting his teeth as he felt the stone tablet pulse in his hands, its warmth a lifeline amidst the chill. He couldn't let go. They needed it. Suddenly, flashes of white light flickered through the dark, illuminating grotesque shapes in the shadows, twisted faces that loomed before him, their mouths stretched in silent screams. Panic surged within him. What do you want? He yelled defiantly, his voice reverberating loudly against the stone walls. The shadows writhed, sensing his courage, retreating slightly before rushing forward again, faster than before. As the tablet's light grew brighter, the whispers intensified, overlapping each other, urgent and chaotic. It felt like they were trying to tell him something, but the message was lost beneath the howls of darkness. Just then, something cold and slimy wrapped around his ankle, dragging him back. Li stumbled, yanking his leg free as he fought against the grip that sought to pull him down. Mei, he shouted, panic clawing at him. We need to stick together. But he turned just in time to see Mei enveloped by a thick, swirling mist. Li, she cried, her voice breaking as the shadows began to swallow her whole. Mei, desperation flared within him. He had to save her. With no thought for his own safety, he lunged toward the swirling fog, reaching out. Their fingers brushed, a fleeting moment that sent ripples of warmth through the chilling air. I'm here. Don't let go. He felt the weight of darkness pulling at them, a malevolence that threatened to split them apart. With gritted teeth, Li pushed his strength into the stone tablet. Reveal the truth, he commanded, squeezing his eyes shut as he summoned the power within. Suddenly, the chamber erupted with a brilliant light. The shadows recoiled, shrieking as the brightness washed over them. In that powerful burst, Li felt a surge of memories, the Guardian's sacrifice, a betrayal, and a bond wrought through darkness. His eyes snapped open, widening at the newly revealed images swirling within the light. Look, he shouted, his voice echoing through the chamber. He pointed toward a vision now crystallizing before him, Zhang's face, pale and pleading, trapped within a web of shadows. No, Mei gasped, her face pale. We have to save him. Yes, Li said, his resolve hardening. But we need the tablet's strength and a plan. With that, the shadows surged one last time, ready to smother their hope. Let us summon everything we've got, Li shouted, feeling the rush of energy coursing through him, warmth battling against the cold. Together, they pressed their palms against the tablet, merging their spirits and wills into one. The chamber shuddered, the shadows recoiling in fear. A blinding wave of light shot forth, forcing the darkness to stagger. They were pushing back, but just as hope ignited, a searing pain shot through Li's chest. Mei, he gasped, feeling something dark seep into him. The shadows were striking back, harder than before. What is happening? She cried, panic flooding her eyes. I don't know, he breathed, struggling to stay upright. The darkness was clawing at the edges of his mind, whispering promises that tempted him to surrender. "Fight it, Lee," May shouted, her hand squeezing his. "You can do this." He focused on her voice, on the bond they shared. They had faced so much and survived. The shadows couldn't win. But another crack split the air, and the darkness surged closer, hungry and relentless. With one last gasp of courage, Lee roared, "Show us the way." And then, everything exploded into chaos again. What would it reveal this time? Would they find Zhang, or succumb to their darkest fears? Lee awoke in a small, dimly lit chamber, the weight of silence pressing down on him like a heavy fog. The echoes of darkness still lingered, but now the shadows were merely remnants of a battle fought. He blinked, heart hammering as he realized he wasn't on the cold stone floor anymore. He was sprawled atop a woven mat, the scent of incense mingling with fresh earth. "May?" he called out, his voice raspy. Panic flooded through him, heart racing at the sound of an absent echo. Had he lost her? "Lee." Her voice reached him from the shadows beyond the room. Relief washed over him as he pushed himself upright, every muscle aching, but hope igniting in his chest. "Are you okay?" he panted, scrambling toward the voice. "Yes, I'm here." She appeared at the entrance, eyes wide with a mixture of anxiety and relief. A moment passed, and then they rushed into each other's arms, the warmth of her embrace anchoring him against the residual fear coursing through his veins. "I thought," he stammered, lost for words. "I thought we were lost," May admitted, her voice trembling as she leaned back to look deep into his eyes. "What happened?" "I think we broke the curse," Lee breathed, glancing around the small chamber's walls, beautifully adorned with intricate carvings and symbols that felt familiar but not yet understood. But the truth we uncovered was more dangerous than we imagined. Suddenly, the memory of Zhang flashed through his mind, igniting a fierce sense of urgency. "We have to find him." The tablet showed him trapped in shadows. "We are running out of time." May nodded resolutely. "Then let us go." Together, they stepped through the doorway, hand in hand, facing whatever lay ahead. The passageway narrowed, lit intermittently by flickering torches casting long shadows along the rough stone walls. They focused on the path, every nerve alert, every sound amplifying the gravity of the moment. The depth of the palace felt suffocating. As they emerged into a larger hall, the symbols on the walls began to glow softly, illuminating their mission with gentle guidance. The weight of everything they had seen hung in the air like an electric charge. "Do you feel it?" May breathed. "The energy, it's beckoning," Lee finished, sensing the pull toward a heavy wooden door at the end of the hall. It groaned ominously as the pair approached, echoes ringing out like a warning. "Should we?" May hesitated, gripping his arm. "We must," he insisted, steeled by purpose. The door creaked open, revealing a vast chamber, where the air thickened with the scent of ancient parchment and the sound of frantic whispers. At its center lay Zhang, bound and frail, surrounded by swirling shadows clawing at his form, pulling him into the depths of despair. "Zhang!" They cried in unison, fear slicing through Lee's heart like ice. Gathering every ounce of strength, Lee stepped forward. "We're here to save you." His voice rang out, steady and unyielding, resonating with the power of their unity. The shadows hissed and recoiled, drawn back from their victim at the sound of Lee's determination. "You will not take him." As May joined him, the flame of their shared courage ignited the space. Together they strode forward, feeling the energy of the tablet hum in response, granting them resilience against the malevolence swirling around them. I reached for Zhang, who looked up with glazed, fearful eyes. "Lee May, don't stand back," he rasped, struggling against his yielding bonds. "No," Lee roared. "We're not leaving without you." In that moment, the shadows lunged, but Lee surged ahead, instincts guiding him. He grasped Zhang's hand while May linked into the energy, forming a chain of strength between them. The shadows moved faster, furious at their intrusion, determined to snuff out the flicker of hope. But as the trio clutched each other, the light from their united spirits radiated brighter, intertwining into a barrier of protection. "Banish the darkness," Lee shouted, channeling every ounce of love and loyalty toward the shadows. The shadows writhed, shrieking in anger as the vibrant light pushed them back, forceful and bright. Zhang gasped as strength coursed through him, and he broke free from his bindings, rejoining their circle. Together, they turned their backs on the darkness, as it twisted and screamed, dispersing into the corners of the chamber, defeated for the moment, but vowing to linger in the shadows. "Quick, we need to leave," May urged, urgency coloring her voice. With Zhang leaning against him for support, the three of them charged out of the chamber, ready to reclaim their lives outside the oppressive palace walls. Each step resonated with joy rather than fear, hope blossoming with every stride. As they burst into the moonlit night, a sense of freedom flooded over them. Li turned to Mei and Zhang, his voice unshakable. "We will not allow shadows to rule our lives again. We found truth, and we fought for it. Nothing can take that away." They stood together beneath the vast sky, hearts forged in the fires of adversity. Together, they would face whatever challenges awaited them, no longer alone, but bound by loyalty and love. Whatever the future held, they would meet it as a united front, and with that resolve, the three walked forward into the dawn of a new day, ready to embrace life beyond shadows. Now, remember, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm, and let us know your thoughts. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let's spread the word and keep this amazing community growing.